Welcome to the Build Your Base podcast. I am very happy to be joined today by none other than Jeff Smith. He is fitness manager at Amarin, all the way from Louisiana. Thank you very much for joining us, Jeff.
Thanks for having me, Jack. I'm honored to be here.
So it's a great opportunity for the base crew to get to know you a little bit more. They've probably seen you doing classes, doing some personal training. Just let us know, how did you find yourself in Bangkok and when was that?
Oh gosh, I guess it's going on 6 years now. I've been in Bangkok, in Thailand. It started out as a gap year for me. Where I'm from, the fitness industry isn't very strong, small town, Louisiana. And I kind of got fed up with the industry there. So I said, you know what, I've saved up some money. I'm going to take a gap year. I'm going to travel Europe for as long as possible. And then maybe teach English in Southeast Asia for a year and then go home. So I made it about 9 months traveling through Europe, which was pretty good. I did workaways, working for free room and board at different places. Amazing experience. But I was kind of getting ready to get back home. So I was like, okay, let's go to Asia, teach English for a little bit, and then head back home, get back into the industry that I love. So get to Asia. Thailand's my first stop, and I just fall in love with it. I get a teaching job right away. Pay, of course, isn't great, but it paid the bills for a little bit, and I ended up doing that for about a year and a half. And then I realized this isn't really going to get me where I want to go in life. So I thought, there's some good gyms here. Let me see if I can get a job working at a gym. First place I sent my email to, the guy replied back within 3 hours and said, come in for an interview. I love what you're doing. I had a fitness website. I was doing some online coaching and went in 2 days later and he hired me on the spot, put in my 3-month resume at the school, and that's the story. I trained there for 2 years and then ended up coming to base for over 2 years now as well. So yeah, it's been a good experience.
And it's been a great 2 years, of course, having you here at base. We have learned a lot, we have grown a lot, and it's been really great to have you around. How did you get into fitness? Did you already have a background in fitness before you came to Thailand?
Yeah, so I have my degree in kinesiology and exercise science. That was from changing my major sophomore year in college. I was doing business administration, which I just loathed. Couldn't take the business classes, accounting just wasn't doing it for me. I took a few fitness classes and just loved it. I just, straight A's in all my major classes. So what really started me in the fitness industry though was when I was 14. And everybody when you're that age, prepubescent, you want to work out because you want to look good, right? You want to gain some muscle and that sort of thing, which is essentially what got me into it. It was sophomore year. And my high school didn't have a football team, American football team. We only had lacrosse. So I wanted to play sports. I joined the lacrosse team, the track team. And it was during lacrosse tryouts that we were hot Louisiana summer, and all the seniors and the juniors start taking their shirts off. Well, the freshmen and the sophomores were like, all looking at each other like, do we do it? And this is, one guy takes the shirt off, and we all start taking our shirt off. And I remember there was quite a few people watching the tryouts and stuff. And it was afterwards, I was talking to my female friend at the time, and I remember her just making fun of me, saying, I so white and so out of shape. I made the team, luckily, but it was at that point forward, I'd realized that, if I want to be any good at this and not just be a bench warmer, and I want to look good and that sort of thing, I've got to start training seriously for it. And that was just a big motivating factor for me. What helped was my mom was very much into fitness as well. So we would she was military. So we would go to the base gym, and it would, no pun intended, the base gym, and it would open up at 4 a.m. And I would go 5 days a week at 4 a.m. when they opened the door before school. And I would train. And then I would go to school, and then we'd have lacrosse practice that afternoon. And I'd stuck with it for years and years and years. And it was my junior year, my school had a fitness competition, a very American thing. So he was the fittest in the school. And it was my junior year, I actually won the competition. And it was like push-ups, shuttle run, 100-meter sprints, pull-ups, this sort of thing. And I actually won it my junior year. And I just remember thinking, I was like, it's amazing what you can accomplish when you have a passion for it and a little bit of motivation to just push you through it. And yeah, that's really what got me started in the industry. Continued working out all through high school, went to university, and then, like I said, freshman year, couldn't stand what I was doing. I was like, you know what, I'm going to make a career out of helping people achieve what I did. And that's what I've done. So that's what got me started.
That's awesome. I think it's interesting how you can often pinpoint a moment
Yep.
when you make a decision to make a change. And that was a comment from a girl.
Yes.
It could be having a kid for some people, or just looking in the mirror on your 30th, 40th birthday and realizing that you need to make a change. And it's just interesting when you can pinpoint the exact catalyst moment. And then once you get going from there, things get easier, you start to enjoy it, and with yourself absolutely became part of your lifestyle.
For sure, absolutely.
Want to talk a little bit about some of your philosophies towards training? You're obviously very experienced and you have a degree in exercise science. So interested to get some of your thoughts on training. Tell us a bit more about your 80-20 principle for training.
So 80-20 came about because when I was in uni, we did a lot of strength and conditioning classes. And when we talk about strength and conditioning, it's more focused on the athletic realm of training. So you're training athletes and that sort of thing. And one common theme that you're constantly preached in school is sports specificity. So what that means is if you're going to be a runner and you want to be good at running, you need to do a lot of running, right? If you want to play football, soccer, we'll say soccer, you've got to be good on the field. You've got to do a lot of training with the ball, and you've got to be very cardiovascularly conditioned. The same principle can be used whenever you're training clients, and really kind of any goal that you have, whether it's weight loss, you want to get stronger, you want to look good, or that sort of thing, you can apply that 80-20 principle. But it's all about being specific to your goal. So what that means is take, we'll say you want to build strength. Let's take 10 lifts that you're going to do for a workout. Take 2 of those lifts, which would be about 20% of the entire lifts that you're doing. You need to put 80% of your effort into those 2 lifts. And they need to be very specific to your goals. So if you want to get strong, we'll use powerlifting as an example. They do 3 primary lifts. They do squat, bench, deadlift. I guarantee you, any good solid power lifter, 80% of their training goes into those 3 lifts, which we'll say is about 20% of their overall lifts that they'll do. And then for the remainder 80% of their lifts that they're doing, it'll be about 20% of their effort, but it's what we call like accessory work, or maybe a little bit of cardio conditioning and that sort of thing. Basically what it is you need to try to eliminate all the fluff from your program and focus on a few specific things and get really good at those few things if you want to see results, right? You don't want to be a specialist in everything. You really need to try to specialize in something that's towards your goals. So running, for example, if you're in the gym 5 days a week, strength training, but you want to be a runner, it's going to be good, but it's not going to be great, right? So if you want to get really good at running, 80% of your effort needs to be in running or some type of intervals, distance running, that sort of thing. And then the other 20% is accessory work. Keep your program balanced, keep you from getting injured or that sort of thing. Another thing can be applied with nutrition. So if you want to lose weight, if you're not focusing 80% of your efforts on your nutrition, then the rest of it's just really not going to be helping you. It doesn't matter what you do in the gym, you've really got to focus that effort on your nutrition and eating right and that sort of thing. So it's a little bit of a dumbed down way of getting everyday clients into that sports specific realm and teaching them that, like, hey, look, get really good at this and you'll start to see results.
What if a client's goals are a little bit more general? So if a client just wants to get in good shape, just perform well at life, but isn't necessarily a sprinter or a powerlifter or a basketball player, would the 80-20 rule still apply to them?
Absolutely. And that's, I would say, the majority of my clients. They come in, they're not really sure what they want to do. They just want to get healthy generally. They want to look good in the mirror. And what we do is we'll take 80% of our effort and put it into movement patterns. So we'll take the squat, or knee dominant, hip dominant, push, pull, and then some type of rotation movement. 80% of our work will be on that, right? And they'll even mention, like, God, we do so many squats, we do so many deadlifts, we do so many pushes. And it's like, trust me, they want to do the core exercises. They want to do the biceps. They want to do the fun ladder drills and that sort of thing. So I barter with them. I say, look, give me 80% of your effort here. And then at the end of the program or at the end of the workout, we'll start doing these bicep curls. We'll do extra core work and that sort of thing. But trust me on this. Give me 8 weeks of your trust. And if we don't start getting to where you want to go, then we'll do what you want to do, right? But it's kind of about, putting your faith in the professional and trusting that coach is really what it comes down to. And that's what I try to instill in them. Some that come in and they got blind trust. They're like, I'm yours, do what you want with me. And then others, you got to kind of train them a little bit and teach them about why you're doing this. But for the general population, it's that 80% of your effort should be focused on getting really good at those movement patterns and what we essentially call functional movements.
Makes sense. Tell us a bit more about some of your clients. You've worked with many different clients online, of course, at base. We talk to so many clients at base, you know, the hundreds of clients that join our classes across all of our locations. Tell the listeners a few of the successful traits that you see in your clients that get good results.
So for me and a lot of my clients, it's showing up early. I mean, hands down, that's the number one thing I love to see.
I've seen that as well from a lot of your clients.
Yes. And
Do you actively encourage that?
I actively encourage it 100%. I tell them, I make sure that like first few sessions, they tend to show up early, which is great, but they really don't know what to do at first, right? They show up, they sit there, they'll maybe get on the treadmill a little bit. But what I eventually do is I train them how to do the warm-up on their own. I usually have back-to-back clients, so it'll be like from 1 hour to the next, I'm constantly stringing my clients together. So what I'll do is as I'm finishing up, a little bit of cardio with my client that I have at the time, my other client will be in there and I'll watch them do their warm-up and that sort of thing. But I'm still focusing my attention on my current client. But then once we start the program, I'll go up and be like, hey, look, you did a really good job with your warm-up. Just next time with this one, kind of make sure you're doing this a little bit better. But the point is that they show up early and they're trying, right? Even with or without me. They show up early, they get warmed up, so that by the time we get started, we have that entire hour. We can go straight into training, or if we need to do a little bit of different activation exercises and that sort of thing, it's just such a time saver. And when you have that extra bit of time, you're going to be able to get so much more results in. Even if it's just 10 minutes, it allows us to do much more stuff. So show up on time and just be motivated, be motivated to work out. It's a little bit of a character trait, I would say.
Do the two things go hand in hand? You show up early, you're ready as soon as the hour starts, you kind of feel a bit more motivated rather than rocking up bang on time or a few minutes late. Do you think one kind of helps the other?
Yes, in most, I'd say 95% of the cases, yes, absolutely. I do have cases where people show up either bang on time or a few minutes late, and they're able to have a killer session. And I have people that show up early, and it's still kind of, dragging their feet a little bit through the session. But 95% of the time, just showing up early is putting in that extra effort, and that just snowballs into the entire workout. They show up early, they show up for the warm-up, they show up for that first set, and they show up till the very end. And you just keep pushing through and doing that over and over and over again. And eventually you realize it starts to click, and it gets easy. And then you start enjoying it. But it's that taking those first few steps, which are probably the hardest, and just show up. Just show up on time or early.
What I love about that is they can actually use the whole hour focused on the 80%, right? They've got that whole hour with you. It ends up being better value for them because really you can teach them to do that warm up. You can teach them to get ready and they can spend that whole 60 minutes doing the good stuff with you. Tell us about one client. Give us a specific example of someone who's really got great results from you, really followed your advice closely, and just someone that you're really super proud of.
So I have one client. We've been training together for 3 months, but he's getting ready for his wedding. And he's Canadian, and he's going to fly back to Canada for his wedding. But when I first met him, I remember it was at Saturn, and I just finished with a client, and he comes in, and I was talking to him, and he just looked very pale and very, I don't want to say gaunt, but we definitely need to get this guy on a solid diet, get him trained and that sort of thing. But chit and chat with him a little bit. He starts telling me about, he was doing keto, he's on intermittent fasting, he's been doing yoga for the last few months, he's lost a ton of weight. I remember him telling me, he's like, yeah, I did all this work to lose all this weight, and I was in Canada at the time. And then I come back to Thailand, and the first thing my fiance asked me, she's like, are you okay? You look sick. And he's just like, I've lost all this weight. I thought you would be happy. I thought it would look good. And then he goes to restaurants or his coffee shop that he normally goes to. And they say, are you okay? You look sick. They're not shy about it here, right? Right. They're not coy. And he realized, he's like, okay, I need to do something about this. So then he comes in to see me. And I was like, man, yeah. So he tells me about all of this. We start to develop trust. And I tell him I can take him through this program and that sort of thing. Right away, he buys 25 sessions. So I was like, awesome. That's an awesome commitment. He shows up early the first day, good start. We start training, we start talking about nutrition, getting him on the right diet, getting him eating carbs once again, trying to change up his intermittent fasting schedule a little bit. And nothing against those two diets. If they work for you, go for it. But for him, we needed to change it up. We needed to get him eating more calories because he's training harder now. And I remember he was squatting like maybe, it was about 30 kg for just 4 or 5 reps the first day. And now we got him squatting 75 for like sets of 8. And just, he's like absolutely crushing it after 3 months. But consistently, he showed up early every single day, 4 days a week. We had him on an upper lower split, and he just really nailed his diet. And just, he put in that 80% effort on those big lifts in the beginning. And then we had all that time at the end. We could work on extra core work. We could work on the sled. We could work on the assault bike, doing cardio and that sort of thing. But just the 180 that he completely did, I mean, it's like he was glowing every time he came in, you know? And there were times, like, he got sick one time and he's still trying to come in. And I was like, man, you got a fever, rest, it's okay. But he was just so motivated. I remember him telling me he's never been this motivated about training. And it's because he became such a specialist in like so few lifts, you know, like we got really good at squat, deadlift, bench press, that he felt so good about doing it. You know, every session wasn't a guessing game. Like, oh, what's it going to be this time? Is it going to take me 20 minutes to figure out this lift? He knew the lifts. We'd come in, he knew what goals, what numbers he had to hit, and he just crushed it every single time. And that's probably one of my best success stories. I have a few others, but right now that's definitely the one that sticks out the most for me.
That's awesome. It's really great when you see someone make that true change. You know, that mental switch that goes off and they start to love it. Even when they feel sick, they still want to come in and train as well. I think that is always so great to see.
One thing that was awesome was he was getting fitted for his suit, right? And he before we started training, he told me about it, and I was like, look, man, we're going to be putting on weight. We're going to be putting on muscle. We're going to be putting on size. So wait before you get measured. Wait a few months, trust me. So he goes and he tells us tailor, he's like, yeah, you know, I'm gonna be training. I got a trainer and this sort of thing. And he told me, he's like, the tailor was kind of scoffing at us, you know, laughing at him, like, oh yeah, sure, I've heard this before. 3 months later, he goes into the tailor, and they had to completely change his suit sizes. You know, he'd filled out the pants, the butt, the shoulders, the arms. It was basically, he had to get remeasured all over again. And the tailor was just so blown away.
That's awesome. Like, 9 out of 10 times, though, probably doesn't happen, right? Yeah,
right,
I'm going to do this, I'm going to lose weight, I'm going to gain some muscle. I'm sure the tailor has seen all of that before. Good
Absolutely.
to know he was that 1 out of 10 that actually did do it, did get results. Okay, Jeff, you're stuck on a desert island. You can only have one piece of training equipment for the rest of your life. What would it be?
That's a tough one. Obviously, I've got my body weight, maybe a branch to pull up on. It's a tough one between kettlebells and TRX. I would say I'd probably go with a kettlebell if I could have adjustable weights on the kettlebell. So if it's only one piece of equipment, I'd probably go with the TRX just because of its versatility. But if I had multiple weights, I would be able to go with the kettlebell for sure.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one for sure. Finally, Jeff, the strapline of this podcast is building your strongest Bangkok life. Can you please give the listeners one tip on how they can live their strongest Bangkok life? Bangkok
can be a very fun city, right? Obviously, it's got the nightlife, the party life, but it's also got that, you know, awesome, growing fitness industry. And I think if you can strike a balance between all of that, maintain stress levels, it can be a stressful city, and figure out a good way to eat healthy here, then you can definitely live an excellent, healthy life. There's lots of people doing it here, but it's about finding that balance between fun and being healthy, right? It can kind of go hand in hand. I think one of the biggest things is just stay regular with your workouts, rain or shine. Don't overdo the partying, and yeah, I think you'd be just fine. Yeah, it's certainly easier now than it was when I first came to Bangkok 15 years ago. I think there are a lot of great options to stay fit, strong and healthy now that weren't quite there before. So I think that does make it a little bit easier now. Thank you, Jeff, for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure, and we'll catch you soon. Awesome. Thanks for having me.